The part that I'm going to do now is create a new piece for the ground, shape it, and add some more structure to it using again another tool that's available in FreeForm Modeling Plus to alter the shape by using image data. So I'm going back to the basic shapes, a tube, which I can now position anywhere in space. I'd like to lock down the moving now and just place it here, give it a certain size, something like that, and over here lower the surface so that we're just touching the body, maybe not that thick, so something like that maybe. Let's give a little bit more to the edges so we have material that we may cut away later on. I'm going to create this in a new piece, not in the existing piece. Tell it to apply, and after a couple of seconds, not even that, I now have a new piece. So let's hide this plane, don't need this. Check the resolution. At the moment this resolution is too fine for me, so I'm going to make it a little rougher, but therefore I have the possibility of shaping faster. So by just pulling some area, tucking some area, I could also use the carving tools to add more structure to it. Let's lower that. So we already made kind of ground. Now I'll just have to make the tool again smaller and push it so the hand is visible again. Something like that. Like that, just to ensure the contact. Maybe a little bigger. Something like that. Okay, let's just leave it like that. This part has been done. Let's move to the top view and again change the resolution to a finer detail. I'm now going to use not emboss with wrapped image, but emboss with normal image. Again, going to look for my patterns that I've already prepared. And this time I'm going to use the sand. We've seen the image before. So it's just a photo of sand. I'm going to use that to emboss the area. So let's make that a little smaller. Let's see, 330 maybe. Could even be 220. Okay, so far fine. Draft angle, don't want to have any draft angle at the moment. Usually it's very good to have a draft angle for the molding, but in the resolution I'm working right now you probably don't need it yet. So let's preview that. And let the computer calculate for a second. Of course, depending on the resolution, this might take a little longer, but I'm sticking to a low resolution for the webinar just for the sake of speed. Here we are. Let's rotate that. And we're seeing that it's at the moment way too strong. So I'm just going to lower the distance. 1 should probably be okay. And as soon as that is done, I can press apply and have a nice grainy structure on the floor. That's okay with me. I'll stick to it as it is. And of course on the edges over here, no problem. We'll just use a cool tool called wire cut later on to cut away the outer edges. And again, where the tail is now sinking into the clay, we can still use the tuck tool to lower that area again, and all the embossed structure that we have placed on the floor will still be visible. After that is done, I would like to add some more parts to it. I would like to add some rocks. So I'm going to open up the object list again and create a new piece. I'm going to start with an empty shape, and let's stick to add detail, resolution of 0.5 millimeter. And again, use the basic shapes. This time I turn off the stick to planar and just going to add some cubes in here, which I also may resize, shape them like that. And all these are later going to be one piece, which I'm going to use as a start to create my rocky surface. So something like that, and maybe another one somewhere in here. The noise you hear is when I'm pushing the stylus through the ground. So let's tell apply. So all this is now going to melt together to one shape. Here we go. And I'm now going to use the carving tool, but in this case it's going to be the cube carving tool. And I'm just going to add some structure to it, because usually, apart from salt, pieces in nature are not in a perfect cube shape. So I'm just going to cut in some edges, something like that. Over here is way too normal. Okay, somewhere in here. I'm now going to use paint selection. Let's make that a little bigger and just paint some parts of it like that. Copy this selection and paste it again in the existing piece, and I'm now able to use this pasted selection and just move and position it somewhere in space. So like that, we're getting a whole bunch of overlying structures. And if you continue doing that, let's enable rotating, the final result will eventually be more realistic looking rocks. Of course, also have the possibility of not only rotating and positioning it, but also have the possibility of changing the size of the piece just to have more interesting structure to it. So let's just put that in here, apply, and the rock has been done. After that, I may now cut away the overlying parts and start adding more material, more color information to my pieces. So I'm going to select the ground again. I'm going to use a new tool which has been introduced to version that will follow directly after 9.0, and it's called Project Texture. In Project Texture, now I have the possibility of using real information, real color information, and project that onto the clay. Similar things were possible in earlier builds, but they were always dependent on the clay resolution, while in this case, I'm even going to turn on tiling, it is not dependent on the clay resolution anymore. So if I hide the top plane, we now have nice sand structure on my ground. Okay, I'm going to jump over to next file where both parts of the ground have been painted, and as well as parts of the lizard. Now let's just go to the ground structure. Not going to save this. Jump over to the PDF. So the thing that we have done, we've now created basic shape, used tuck, and we could also use more tools to alter the shape. Place the texture on that. Then we created a bunch of cubes.